Hi all. Keep records. Write everything down. Have a journal. Just get a 3-ring notebook with some paper. On day 1, put the date on the top of the page and write down everything you did on that date. Next page, put the date, write everything you did on that date. Just so you got some type of journal of what you did for your business. Keep records of all your receipts. That's what people paid you. Go to Walmart, buy a little receipt book, cost you $3. Every time you plow the place, write out a receipt, hand it to them. Everything you buy for the company, write it down. Just go Walmart and get one of these. Simple ledger. Write down the date, what you bought, the amount, the tax, the total. That's it. And then number 2, number 3, number 4. It doesn't have to be fancy. You just want a record of what you did. Anything you buy, gas, keep track of your mileage. H&R Block or whatever company you go through might be able to use that at the end of the year, so you get a bigger refund or you pay less taxes. What I do is I have one of these for my expenses, and then I have another one of these for my income. So I know exactly what's coming in, exactly what's going out. When I started my music business, the accountant was able to go back years. They went back years and got all my expenses I had to start the business. It was more than just 1 year. It took me years to develop the business, mileage, buying supplies, So I had kept track of all that stuff in these, and then what the accountant can do, they do all the depreciation stuff and what the company's worth and things like that. One small little side note there. You might think $5,000 is a lot for a snowplow, but when I taught music, I would have guys go out, drop $5,000 on a guitar and amp, and they wouldn't even be able to play a note. They couldn't go one note, couldn't be able to move their fingers. It's just something that they wanted to learn. It was a nice hobby, and then there's lessons on top of that and all other types of gadgets that go on top of that too. The expenses really add up. Something that's good to do is just get one company credit card. All your expenses, you buy it with that credit card. That's your record of everything you spent. Now that I think of it, I think American Express has small business credit cards. And something that I do is all of my receipts, when my customers pay me, I put everything through PayPal. They have to pay me through PayPal. That way I don't have to go up to the door. I don't have to worry about getting shot. It's like, I'll plow and you send me a PayPal. My feeling is if they don't have a PayPal account, then they probably can't afford plowing. Everyone has a PayPal account now, and there's really nothing to it. I just give them my email address. They go to their PayPal and send me the money. So and then I also have a sign on my truck, no cash on this truck. So I don't have to worry about getting robbed they think there's cash on the truck, I don't have to worry about that. Sure, I might lose a few customers, but at least I don't have to worry about getting shot. You know, like a pizza delivery guy getting mugged. You know. So these expenses could be anything that involves the business. Pens, pencils, copies at the office store, you know, even if it's a dime, write it down. Write down the expense. Here, I'll do it with a magic marker to give you an idea here. Now don't use a magic marker when you do this, just do it in pen. The tax people want it done in pen. I don't know if it's mandatory, but do it in pen so you can say, hey, I didn't come back and change it. So like 1/25 2017, I bought gas, $7. There's no tax, $7. See? So, doesn't have to be neat. And then take the receipt from the gas and just staple it to the back of the page. And you may have 10 receipts stapled to the back of the page, but that's your proof that you had the expense. Even the book, that's an expense for the company, so make sure you even put the book as part of the expense. When you go to the store to buy things like this, have it rung up separate so you get a separate slip just for your businesses. If you go to those big box stores, I think you can set up an account where you're tax exempt, so you don't have to pay tax on some things. I don't remember exactly how that works. That's something that you might want to think of. Okay, so local plowing laws, you know. Do you have to have blinkers on? You know, I think I said earlier I watched the one video where the guy said in his area he has to have his blinkers on. You know, the flashing light on top of the truck. That has to be on while he's driving down the road, whenever the plow is on the truck, even if he's not plowing. You know. After I watched that video, I called up my local police. I asked them about that. They just looked at me like I was crazy. So each area is going to be different. We talked about the sticker plow permit on the truck had to be on the windshield. In my area, I don't need anything. 30 miles west, in that one, I don't know if it's the county or the one city, you have to have a permit on the truck that says you're a registered snowplow. Some areas might permit you to push the snow across the street. Usually it's got to stay on the property. Just call your city, your county, your state capital, local police, sheriff, state police, you know. Ask them if they know of any rules, regulations that you need to follow. 17, if you start a snowplow company is seasonal. It only snows a couple months a year. It's part-time work. So, you know, you're starting your own company. I don't think you can collect unemployment the rest of the year because you're working for yourself. So for that reason, I don't really recommend starting a snowplow company. You know, it's some pretty big expenses for only 3 months a year. Usually your business is based on how much you advertise. If you advertise a lot, you'll get more business. But if there's no snow, no matter how much you advertise, you're still not going to get any work. You know. So usually what you'll see is a landscaping company that does snow plowing in the winter. So that type of thing makes sense. You already have the truck, you might as well put a plow on it. Something else that you might want to think of is if you're going to go full blown into your snowplow company, a small front end loader or a bobcat might be a good idea to stack the snow. And that's mainly for like commercial jobs, and maybe even an old dump truck. You can get old dump trucks really cheap. You'll only need it a couple times a year, and then you can use your front end loader to put the snow on the dump truck and cart it away. That was my first thought. Well, if I have a commercial job and there's a lot of snow, it's like, well, they might expect you to haul it away too. When I had my music store, I hired the snowplow company that did the bank next door. Without me even thinking about it, after the snow piled up for a while, one day they pulled up with these huge front end loaders, took all the snow off the sidewalk, threw it in a dump truck, and took it away. They had a service that I wasn't even aware of. Now that I think of it, what the fella had said to me, he said, I preferred to do your sidewalk too because it made him easier to do the bank next door. So he did me really cheap. He did it for $100 a year, and then 1 year he only charged me $60. So that was a big company. It was a big commercial business here in town. They had plenty of trucks. Okay, so presuming, if you've watched this series the whole way through, you're new at this stuff. So how do you get the experience, right? Just start out small. Start out doing small driveways. Your friends and your family, your relatives. Make sure they get all the cars out of the driveway. The kids go inside. Keep all the dogs and cats inside the house. You might have a buddy come with you to stand out in the road, make sure there's no cars coming. Stop the cars if they have to. Something you could do is download the snowplow manual, so you know how it works. Read the manual that comes with the plow. And my truck manual also has some good pointers in there on how to use it for snow plowing. How to put it in four-wheel drive low, how to put it in four-wheel drive high, which is best for snow plowing, and so on. When you get a driver's license, instead of making people parallel park, they have a maneuver test. So over at my local mall, the driving schools have cones set up where they practice the maneuver test. So you can go to those areas and practice backing your truck in and pulling around with the plow on. So you get used to how the truck works. One young kid at a store, a farm store, he actually said to me he uses the plow to plow the gravel on the farm. So if you live out on the farm, you can get some practice there. I've heard that it's not legal to plow the city streets and mall parking lots, mainly because if it breaks up the pavement, the mall will come back and sue you. So that's not a good idea. Now, I had one fella write a comment that said in his area he can plow the local mall, that they didn't mind. So you might want to give him a call. My local mall, I heard from one fella, they don't actually have a company that plows. That all you have to do is go into the office, tell them you want to plow. They'll give you a time card, you clock in, you go out, plow as much as you want, and then when you're done, you clock out. So take that one with a grain of salt, but that's what I heard, and I think I actually heard that from 2 people. So usually when you want to learn a new skill, you practice, right? But if there's no snow and nowhere to practice, how do you practice, right? You know, you can't push the snow back into the driveway and do it again, right? So that's the tough one. If you're talking to someone and you find out they used to plow or they still plow, if they make a comment about plowing, keep them talking as much as possible. You shut up and just keep them talking. You can learn a lot from those guys, you know, especially the older fellas, you know. Like what I did with the fella at the stone yard, you know. It was the end of the day. He didn't have nothing to do. He was ready to go home. I kept him talking for like a half hour. Just a couple little words here and there. It keeps him going. And I really learned a lot from him. These days we have YouTube. We can learn a lot from these guys here. Sometimes it's what not to do. Sometimes you can learn what not to do from people. So I hope these videos have helped you on how to start your company. I've only skimmed over some of these topics. I plan to come back and do another video on the commercial plates because I want to go into greater detail there. And I want to do another video on the commercial insurance. There might even be a couple videos there. I've done a handful of videos on cleaning up the truck, getting the sign painted. If it snows a lot, it would be a real good idea to have a scanner. In my younger days, when I traveled a lot, I used to have a scanner in the car. Didn't really use it much, but in the event of an emergency, it would come in handy. Of course, on the CB, we have channel 9 for emergency. But if the police aren't talking, then you aren't hearing it. That's why on scanner, you can actually hear what the police are saying. Oh, this here. This here, I recommend a low profile jack. Don't bother with the jack that comes with the plow. They kind of seem useless. Comes in handy a little bit, but I've got a few videos on how to put the plow on and off the truck. A low profile jack would really come in handy. I've seen cheap ones at Walmart for under 50 bucks. But I don't know if they'd work because it's low profile in the front and then the back kind of goes up. I wouldn't be able to get it under the part of the plow in order to lift it up. But a real heavy-duty, professional, low-profile jack, I think would really come in handy. So, let's see. You can do it without it. You know, I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of comments here. But for me, you know, using a low profile jack, it makes the whole thing so easy, putting it off and on. Just slide the jack under, go and you're done. Yeah. I really recommend these chains because if it's snowing a lot, you just throw the chains on and you can go anywhere. I know I have the big Baja claws on mine. The first storm of the year, it was ice. I had an inch or two of ice in my driveway, really. Inch or two of ice. It was that big. That truck wasn't moving. It was just, the tires were just spinning. So 8,000 pound truck, 2,000 pounds or 1,000 pounds of rock and salt, and close to 10,000 pounds. It wasn't going nowhere. That's why I would recommend the chains, because when it's storming, you got to go out. So then you just throw on the chains and go. So I haven't used these on the truck yet, but I have them for my car. And I put them on my car only once or twice. And I went through 2 feet of snow, just like it was nothing. And I only had them on the front. I love them. They don't tear up the wheel wells. They hold real tight to the wheels. And I think it says on the company website you can go 30 miles an hour or 50 miles an hour with them. So where they're used a lot is when people go skiing up into the mountains. They'll put those on their tires, and then they're driving the freeway up into the mountains. So if you can afford a V-Plow, buy a V-Plow. That would be the best thing, but they're kind of expensive. Here I had about 1,200 pounds in my bed, and I just took out about 200 pounds today because I thought it was kind of clunky. So 1,000 might be a bit much. I'd probably say like 480 is good, maybe 800 at the most. So I think this 480 is a good number. 480 plus the toolbox. So the truck still moves. It's still kind of light, but you have a little weight holding down the back wheels. The plow is about 700 or 800 pounds. So then 500 plus the toolbox, you got about 500 in your bed. Plus some miscellaneous things, shovels and stuff like that. A couple bags of salt. So I think that's good. Maybe we'll do another video on this area here. Actually doing the paperwork for the business. It would be nice if the state or the cities put out a sheet of paper. Here's the laws for the local snowplows. That would be real nice, but I have never heard of that yet. My insurance company, he said you get a discount if you have a CDL, but you must have the CDL for at least a year before they give you a discount. So if you run out and get the CDL now, then you're good to go next year. Check with your insurance company. Mine was Progressive. I don't think it was much of a discount. Hey, it helps, Okay, so I think that's good for this. Next video, we'll do the commercial insurance. Okay, see ya. Bye.